8 types of childhood abuse. In the world we live in, children should be protected as the future of our societies. However, sometimes the innocent world that should be provided for them is, instead of peace and security, filled with dark shadows stemming from abuse and harm. From overt acts of violence to subtle, unnoticed slips that jeopardize their place in society, there are various forms of child abuse that have deep effects on their growth and development. In this article, we intend to explore 8 types of these abuses. From physical to emotional, these forms of abuse sometimes hide behind curtains of everyday life for children, but their impacts on the process of growth and identity formation cannot be ignored. The purpose of this article is to increase awareness of these various forms of abuse and the effects they have on children. With a better understanding of this issue, we can act more responsibly as a society to support children's rights and prevent abuse more effectively. 1. Physical abuse. This involves intentionally causing physical harm or injury to a child. It can include hitting, punching, kicking, burning, or any other form of physical violence. 2. Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse involves any form of sexual activity with a child, including fondling, molestation, rape, or exploitation. This can also involve non-contact acts such as exposing a child to pornography or voyeurism. 3. Emotional abuse. Emotional abuse, also known as psychological abuse, involves behaviors that harm a child's self-worth or emotional well-being. This can include constant criticism, humiliation, rejection, or threats of abandonment. 4. Neglect. Neglect occurs when a caregiver fails to provide for a child's basic needs, including food, shelter, clothing, medical care, education, or emotional support. It can be either intentional or unintentional. 5. Verbal abuse. Verbal abuse involves using words to harm or manipulate a child. This can include yelling, screaming, name-calling, belittling, or using derogatory language towards the child. 6. Witnessing domestic violence. Children who witness domestic violence between their caregivers are also considered victims of abuse. Witnessing violence can have serious psychological and emotional consequences for children, even if they are not directly harmed. 7. Bullying. Bullying can occur in various settings, including at school, in the neighborhood, or online. It involves repeated aggressive behavior intended to harm, intimidate, or exert control over another child. 8. Spiritual or religious abuse. This form of abuse involves using religious or spiritual beliefs to manipulate, control, or harm a child. It can include forcing a child to adhere to strict religious practices, using religious teachings to justify abuse, or punishing a child for perceived religious transgressions. It's important to note that these forms of abuse can often overlap, and a child may experience multiple types of abuse simultaneously. Additionally, the effects of childhood abuse can be profound and may persist into adulthood without proper intervention and support.